Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 22nd. I'm your host, Aaron Armstrong, and with me today is Lavina. How you doing, Lavina?
Hi, Taryn. I'm doing well. We had a pretty exciting, I would say exciting night of feeds, actually full day of feeds, just because we had, the veto ceremony and the fallout from after. So I'm pretty excited right now.
There you go. We are here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 22 live feeds. It was day 48 in the house. And yes, we did have some movement here again. The week continues to be set in stone, but we are getting some movement for future weeks. Moves are being made, so we're going to talk about it all. We start the day. There really wasn't too much at the start of the day. We did, of course, have David talking to Memphis. David was like thanking Memphis for how the week has gone. You stuck to your word, man. I really appreciate it.
Every time these two talk, it's just so weird. It's the most awkward conversation. They're always sitting like 85 feet apart, and it's just very awkward to watch. And there's nothing else to watch on the feeds because they were the only two up at the time.
Yeah, they're both they both get up early. That's just the thing that they do,
Mhm.
and they talk about okay, moving forward, we'll be all right. Um, so Davon is gonna ask Tyler, are you gonna use the veto? No.
Yeah, and he gave a I mean, I'm not sure if this was the same for you, but it just the feeds kind of clipped into the conversation at a kind of a weird time for
Mm-hmm.
me. Okay, so I thought that was just me, but it as soon as it clipped into the conversation, it was again super awkward, and he said something along the lines of like, "Hey, man, I was up there last week, so no."
Yeah, it was a little bit like sorry, but
Right,
it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
right.
So we Davon's gonna go and tell Nicole oh he said no, it's not happening.
Yeah. Um, as if she thinks that Nicole doesn't know that he's not going to use it. But this has been a theme throughout the week with the dynamic between Nicole and Davon. We'll see
Mm-hmm.
more of it.
Yeah. So we get to the veto ceremony, and the veto is not used. Davon or Kevin will be going home on Thursday.
I mean, we knew it all along, didn't we? As soon as Memphis won HOH, the chances of the two of them winning veto, then one of them comes down, and who goes up? Probably David. I mean, we knew it from the episodes in Memphis's DR.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we knew it all along. It's just another one of those straightforward weeks.
Yeah. So Davon's going to talk to Kevin afterwards. She says she is not going to give those guys the satisfaction of a campaign, and that she does not plan on campaigning to any of Enzo, Tyler, or Cody. That she's going to fully rely on. She thinks that Danny, Nicole are going to vote for her, and then she's going to try for Christmas, and then maybe David will feel guilty enough.
Right. And apparently she had somewhat of an explosive speech or something that she said during the veto where she called out possibly Christmas in along with the three boys. From my understanding, those three boys were Tyler, Memphis, and Cody. From my understanding, so that was a huge talk throughout the day as well. And people were saying that you know, why are you going to do that speech? And then I believe it was Cody who was saying, oh, why do you not want to play the game? Why do you not want to campaign? And then on the other side of the feeds, you have Davon saying what you just said, Taryn. I'm not campaigning to these boys. I'm not going to, kiss butt.
Yeah, not a kiss or butter.
Right.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, yes, we're up now here on YouTube. Kevin is saying that he says, you know, he says to Davon, I've been thinking about the vote situation again, and I'm starting to, like, don't you feel like Nicole flipped? Don't you feel like maybe, just maybe, Nicole flipped on us here? And Davon says, no. It's like, well, but like what if David is innocent in all of this, and it's Nicole that flipped. She's not. Nicole wouldn't do that.
Now that'd be outlandish, wouldn't it?
Okay, but like maybe she was crying about it because she felt like guilty, or like that, like Danny like told her she had to do it, she didn't want to. What, like, right? And Dave's like, nope. I can ask her one more time, but I'm telling you, it's not it. And Kevin's like, well, I mean, you can ask her, but she's not gonna tell you. She's like, no, she'd tell me. She's like, why would she tell you? She's just gonna lie. Why would she tell you? She would tell me.
When I tell you that I was screaming at my screen when I was watching this go down, like first off from the start of it, I was happy that Kevin was getting it. So of course I was screaming for that. And then I was screaming when Davon was still pushing back, when Kevin was making some really good points. Like these are things that, you know, I feel like a lot of people would notice and maybe question Nicole. But I think that, you know, the history between Davon and Nicole, I think Davon is holding on to the thought of, you know, I want to mend the fences with Nicole. You know, we played together in Big Brother 18. It didn't go perfectly. And she wants to have a different story, and especially in an all-star season. So I don't think she wants to believe that Nicole could possibly be in something without her, or even just against her flat out.
Yeah, she just doesn't believe that Nicole would do this to her again. So she goes,
Right.
Nicole walks by and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go ask her. She goes into the key room with Nicole. She says, "Look, I just have to ask you one more time. You know, I'm bashing David, and I just want to make sure that I'm not bashing him if it's not true that you did vote Tyler out." Nicole's like, "Yeah, I voted the way I said." Of course, Nicole does not get the say the words treatment. But Davon's like, okay, yeah, I just need to make sure. I just don't want to be bashing him if it's not true. Nicole's like, it's true. Like you can tell that Nicole in this moment is just like, screw my life.
Right. And what's funny is that she was barely even looking at her. Like the body language was so off. Like I think I wrote that in my notes that her body language was just awful.
Yeah, like Nicole wants nothing to do with this.
Right.
She does not want to be lying anymore. She was like only trying to like make the week easier for herself by hiding her vote, and now it's become, as she says later, the most difficult thing she's ever dealt with. That she is having to like, she has this person telling her like, hey, I'm bashing this person because of something you said. Are you sure? And she has to continue to lie, and she's like, oh my god.
Right.
Yeah, and after Devon leaves the room, she's just like, I can't do this. Like, I need to tell her.
Yeah. It's just a very awkward situation, and you can tell that Nicole feels awful about it, but because the main reason that Nicole feels awful and what she was telling Danny is because, you know, Davon presented it as, I'm going to need to know the truth if, you know, because see, I'm saying these things about David, and it's not even as much about game, it's more about their community is what she was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what Nicole was super down about, because she was saying, I made this game move and I think it was a pretty good move, right, Danny? And Danny's like, no, it was a great move. And Nicole is like, but I really want to tell her because, you know, she's saying this and that about my community and such. And, Devon makes a great point, and it's another theme throughout the day, Taryn. It's a huge stressor for Nicole.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to say, of course, Nicole's gonna get overly defensive about this, but I just can't get on board with this idea that look, you have to tell me the truth, or I will be forced to be bashing this person. What do you? No, Davon, come on, you don't need to be bashing David. If you have to ask a question to Nicole Franzel, and Nicole Franzel's answer is the determining factor about whether or not you bash somebody on a personal level, on a very personal level, then you have taken a wrong turn somewhere.
Right. And I think that the point that Devon was trying to make was she already bashed him, and the girls being Danny and Nicole, were trying to figure out, well, is Nicole going to do something, or not Nicole, is Devon going to do something, on eviction night? Is she going to say something? Is she going to say something in DRs? Has she already said something in DRs about David? And yeah, so I guess Devon's point was to say, I don't want to look stupid, and yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So Nicole does go talk to Danny about this. She's like, Danny, what am I gonna do? I gotta tell her. And Danny's like, no, you can't tell her. She's like, I have to. And she's like, no. She's like, she's talking about bashing David. And Danny's like, oh, she's going to do it on the live show? She's like, I don't know. And that's when she was like, no, Nicole, here's what we do. We just talk her out of bashing him on the live show. We just get her to not do the bad thing. We don't need to tell her the truth about it. That's the move.
Right. I mean, my gut is telling me that Nicole, I don't even know if Nicole would implement her goodbye message and maybe tell her the truth there, because it's become something so personal, and Nicole obviously is very much aware of that. So I'm not sure how Nicole's going to get out of this one. I don't know if it's going to be a thing where she sends Devon to the jury upset and she tells her in person, or if she tells her the goodbye message. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think she's going to say something in the goodbye message. I mean, she has to.
One of the two.
She cannot. She has to be the one to say it on her terms. To be like, look, I did this. It was a game move, and I never wanted it to be something that turned so personal. It was just a game move to hide my alliance.
Right.
I'm so sorry that it turned out the way that it did, but I couldn't tell you because I couldn't let you know, or anybody else, that I was in with those people. And I feel like Devon will definitely not be happy about it. But
Oh, no.
I think if she presents it in the right way, she could maybe get away with it. Whereas if she says nothing, she's dead to Devon for the rest of her life, I think.
For sure. I think that once Devon finds out, she will be dead to her anyways. So it's just a matter of how dead.
Yeah. We'll see. So David's going to talk with Kevin. He says that Devon is trusting someone who flipped the vote over him. Why is Devon not trusting? That they had a chance. That the veto choice, the player choice, house guest choice in the veto draw was very telling to him, because they had a chance, just like the week before, where there was an option, a chance for all three of them to be safe. And neither of them chose him to play in the veto. Neither of them tried to even get that chance out there. And Kevin is just kind of like, was it really a chance, though?
Right. I I think the two just have their minds made up and they just don't want to believe David. And, I'm sure that the both of them are probably going to watch these tapes back and feel pretty freaking bad about it.
Yeah. So, it turns out, as we saw in the episode, that David really would have used the veto on one of them, which, again, right. Like, it didn't seem that way when he was talking to Kevin prior to the veto, and when we see everything. I thought David was actively avoiding saying he would use the veto on one of them because he wasn't planning on it, but according to the diary room, he was planning on it. So just again, David, unfortunately not able to communicate his intentions very well here.
Right, and we've been talking about that all season, about David, like his communication. His intentions are good, but the communication is just off. And hey, who knows if it's gonna get better.
Kevin does go back to Day, and he's like, "Look, I just one more. Do you remember how skeptical Danny was about the vote on Thursday? That she kept saying, I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know if it's gonna happen." Like it's like she knew that the votes weren't really there. It's like because she knew that it wasn't going to happen, right? And Day says no, because Nicole would have known, and she wouldn't screw me again.
I mean, it's just frustrating to watch because it's like, Davon, haven't you seen those two just stuck at the hip since day one? Wouldn't you kind of guess that maybe they're talking about stuff that you're not aware of?
I feel like there has to be somewhere deep inside a part of Davon that knows she's screwed up. But there's this sort of sunk cost right now where she went in so deep on David that she just cannot admit to herself that she screwed up.
Right. And I think that it reveals itself when she's so willing to immediately go ask Nicole a million times. Can you tell me if you flip the vote? It's very telling.
And that's, I think, if I'm being real honest, that's, I think, why she asked Nicole in the way that she did. She's trying to place as much blame on Nicole as possible. Hey, I don't want to be bashing David if this isn't the truth, so you'd better tell me the truth. This is outside of the game. I think that she is trying to pass along as much blame to somebody else as she can when the inevitable happens.
For sure. And I think that eventually, like we said, she's going to find out from Nicole some way, somehow, whether it be the goodbye message or her telling in person, or maybe Nicole decides maybe I'm not going to tell her, and she's going to find out later through Ian or something like that. But regardless, it's going to be a heartbreaking moment for Davon.
Yeah, because every time in these conversations with Kevin too, she always makes it about Nicole. It's because she used to talk about it no, I know, I can read Nicole, I know about Nicole, or I know about Danny, I can read David. It used to be a lot about David. Now it's all about no, I just trust Nicole's word. And she's not talking about her own reads anymore. And that's, again, I think because she knows there's a part of her that is doubting herself, and so she's trying to put it all on Nicole. Which we'll see. So Christmas is going to have a conversation with Memphis. They talk about David. He mentions his conversation with David earlier that David feels very appreciative about the week and how he is safe this week. And Christmas feels like maybe it's a good idea to reel David in. Maybe try to use him against Danny, because it's very obvious now that Danny, Nicole, and Day have had some kind of alliance probably from the start.
Right. And Christmas was very anti-Danny. So anything that she could do to possibly bring another number on her side would be very helpful. And obviously Memphis is pretty much on board as well.
Yeah. So Christmas has been anti-Danny ever since Danny's HOH week, when after the disruptor power, she went up to Christmas and said, hey, I've got to, if the veto is used, I've got to put up another pawn. It's going to be you, Memphis, or Enzo. And Christmas is like, no. And of course, she'd also had like seeds from Tyler back when Tyler was trying, and like those seeds were still there, but she still trusted Danny at least a bit throughout her own HOH reign. But when Danny really presses that during her HOH week, she completely loses Christmas. And now she does have, Tyler and Cody and Enzo getting in her ear even more about Danny, especially because they want Dagon this week. And so she has become the anti-Danny person, and she's basically doing all of the work for Enzo and Tyler at this point to go against Danny, and she is flipping Memphis against Danny, and Memphis is now flipped against Danny. In fact, Memphis talking to Tyler later in the backyard, they're looking at the moon, and it's like because the camera is pointing at the moon, like something's written on the moon, and Memphis is like, yeah, it says Danny's shady.
Right. And at first I looked away for a second, but I had the audio on, right? And I heard that and I darted back to the looking at it and I was like, is Danny around? But then I saw her on the hammock and I was like, okay, they're trying to do something subliminally, but at the same time, trying to pass it off as a joke.
Yes. Speaking of messages, there was another wall yeller that caused them to go on lockdown. David said to Kevin, like, what do you think they're yelling about? I guarantee you they're yelling about the day not believing me.
Right. God. And he can only hope that that's what they said. But, I mean, do we know what they said?
No.
Right. I feel like we just hear about wall yellers, but we don't even hear what they say anymore. And what's the fun in that, right? I mean, wall yelling wall yelling in and of itself is stupid. But if you're not going to say anything with, I don't know, that's of importance, then I don't know why you would want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for all we know, the wall yeller was saying, David did screw you over, Dad. We have no control over that. So Memphis and Christmas continue to talk here. That Memphis is wondering, like, okay, maybe we can get David to go against Danny. What about next week? Is there a way that we could get him to use Kevin as a pawn? Because Kevin's like the pawn star at this point, is like that we would say to him that it makes sense to do this. Like Memphis is starting to feel like I think a little too confident about his position here with David.
Oh my gosh, this was incredibly frustrating to watch because it's like, first of all, Memphis, the relationship that you have with David in the house has been rocky from the jump. Because, David has mentioned multiple times that he feels a little bit uncomfortable around Memphis and stuff like that. But besides that, if I'm pretty sure everyone in the house is aware that David wants to prove himself to be telling the truth to both Davon and Kevin. So why would he turn around and use Kevin as a pawn when it's his only ally?
Mm-hmm.
So that was frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So they continue to talk about Danny, Nicole, and Day having some kind of alliance. Memphis mentions, he's like, I like Cody. There's no way he wasn't involved in that, right? Cody was definitely, he's a smart player. He's probably, disassociating, right? But something to be aware of that I guarantee you Cody was a part of that.
Right. I mean, who knows when these guys all turn on each other? Who knows when that's going to happen? But I feel like it's sooner rather than later.
We'll see. Christmas says, well, look, we've got me, Beast, you, Beast, Enzo, Beast, Tyler. super beast. Like we can do this. Like we don't need Cody if we don't need if he's part of that. So Christmas putting in a lot of work for Tyler. This anti-Danny stuff is definitely very good for him. Memphis was talking about Tyler being dangerous at the start of this week, and Christmas is really, I think, doing as much as she can to get Tyler in. And I have to give Christmas some credit here. She's doing it in a difficult circumstance. Memphis has been warned that Christmas and Tyler have a final two, and under normal circumstances, it's difficult to be subtle enough to like squeeze somebody in when the person is already skeptical of them. But when they've already been warned that you have a final two with that person, and she's still managing to subtly reel Tyler into this block, and she doesn't even realize that Cody is already in, which makes it even harder. I do have to give her some credit for lowering Tyler's threat level with Memphis, because that is beneficial to her.
Right. It's beneficial to her, but I mean, at the end of the day, who is she working for? And it's the thing with Christmas is that I feel like she thinks that she's like this criminal mastermind in the house and that everything's her idea, and like we'll get to it, but the conversation with David that she has, it's just like she's like some kind of mob boss where she's like, I'm giving you these, ideas, and I'm going to keep you safe, and this all that kind of stuff, and it's just like
Make you an offer you can't refuse.
I think that's literally exactly what she said, verbatim almost. So yeah, we'll get to it.
She thinks she's Paul. I mean, I've been saying this, but like she thinks she is Paul, and she thinks she is the better version of Paul. And like I said, you do have to give her some credit, because she is doing decently well at this. Sure. Certainly better than a lot of other people in the house. And I would even say, I would go as far as to say she has played a much better game than Danny. And that would probably be, nails on a chalkboard to people in the preseason. But it's, I think it's true. She's a little too blunt, a little too obvious most of the time, but she can be subtle at times, and she can build relationships at times. She does have a relationship with David that she is using. Tyler screwed his up, and now Christmas is kind of coming in again to like help Tyler out with David, and it seems like it might work. But I'm not sure. We can't be sure yet. Christmas goes to David after her conversation with Memphis, and she implies that Danny, Nicole, and Day are in an alliance. David says that he is after Danny, that she put him up on the block. She's his target. And that is music to Christmas's ears. This is exactly what she wants. And she talks to him about like potentially maybe, working together in the future. She says that, look, I know you were a vote to keep Ian. I know what Nicole did to you. And I am willing to set the record straight in the goodbye messages that, I will back you up with Davon that you are innocent in all of this. And I hope that, that olive branch means that, we can work together moving forward. We could make at least, a, 2-week deal of, keep each other safe. And, maybe, head after those people that we talked about. And David is like, I'm in, let's go.
Well, the part where she said, I can help you clear it up with Davon was very confusing, because it's like, you and Davon have had a very rocky relationship. Why would she ever believe you first? That's my question.
I mean, I think that probably when you're in David's position where nobody believes you, nobody is even willing to, there's nobody has gone to David. Even Tyler was like, David, but to have somebody come up to you and be like, I believe you, I know, and I will back you up, it probably feels pretty good to hear that. Even like, will they believe Christmas? I don't think it matters. I think it's just a matter of like, oh, somebody else is going to back me up here. I think that probably feels pretty good to him when nobody else is doing that. And like I said, she has had a relationship with David. Christmas is the kind of person, and they mention this on the feeds, they're sketched out by this sometimes, but she is the kind of person that does go and talks to everybody. That's why she was the one that picked up Josh in Big Brother 19, is that she was the only person willing to talk to Josh in the early portion of the season. And the same thing has kind of been true of David. She has talked with David throughout the season. And she may have enough of a foundation of a relationship to make something like this work. Now, this is obviously a very risky move, though. If she does not pull this off, if it does not work, if David goes to Devon and says, hey, Christmas came up to me and said that she knows that I was the vote, or if he reveals that Christmas is anti-Danny, a lot of things could blow up on Christmas right now. Not that it would matter that much, because Danny is already after Christmas, but Nicole would certainly be pissed at Christmas, and it would definitely blow some things up. So that's definitely still in the cards, but as of right now, David has not revealed anything that Christmas has told him yet.
Right. And I think he's going to tread carefully with it, just because he's probably trying to figure out if he even wants to trust her yet. And I think that that's probably a good move on David's part, just to, take it slow and maybe see if he's willing to go through with it. Because Christmas promised him, like, let's get to final 8 or something like that. And, we can ride this out. And, I think he was saying, I just want a chance. I just want a chance. So, this could be a potentially good move for David. I just don't know if the targeting Kevin aspect of it is best, even though Kevin's probably going to be alone, but I'm just not sure if that's something that he wants to do when that's like a surefire ally for him.
Yeah, I think the right move for David is to hold on to this information until next week, and see who wins HOH. If Danny or Nicole win HOH, specifically Danny, because that's probably the biggest one. But like, if either of them win HOH and he finds himself potentially being targeted by either Danny or Nicole, then you go to them and say, so just so you know, last week Christmas came to me and revealed the whole plan about you, about Nicole flipping her vote and blaming me. She said that she believed me and that she was going to rat you out, Nicole. And she really encouraged me to target you, Danny and Nicole, because you guys were in an alliance with Devon and like so on and so forth, right? They are already after Christmas. That gives them a lot of extra incentive to go after Christmas if they win HOH next week. If they don't win HOH next week, then you go to Christmas or whoever won and you go, totally down with the plan, did not reveal anything. I am with you. Let's go after Danny. You know what I mean? So right. We'll see. We'll see if David can hold on to that information. But I don't know.
See, here's my thing is I had this thought. It ran through my mind. But then it's like, I feel like, I think I tweeted this earlier. I feel like a lot of fans want to root for an underdog and they feel like David is now an underdog. And I want to root for David. So I mean this with full love, but I just don't know if he'll think like that. I don't know if he'll do that. It's just a matter of what is he going to do with this information, and is it going to be the right thing? And I'm not sure about it because he doesn't have the greatest track record in the entire world. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see.
He played with Cliff. This is a Cliff move.
Yeah, totally. But
this is the only season he watched. David.
I know. Well, actually, they told him, he told the house guests, I forgot who he was talking to, when he was in sequester, apparently they didn't give him CBS All Access.
Yeah, I don't believe him.
So I was shocked by that. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I think he's lying, personally. I think he's continuing. He said that, I think he said that to Memphis. And he was saying that, I didn't get All Access in sequester, and Memphis was like, they didn't even give you DVDs, and I'm like, Memphis, DVDs. We're not in Big Brother 10 anymore. And because like we know that David has pretended to like play up how clueless he is at times, and but the thing is, Memphis was like, yeah, well, that's kind of your problem, is that right now I think if you got to the end, nobody would vote for you because they don't respect how little you know about the show. And Dave was like,
Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't really help when you say that or lie, I guess, about not having CBS All Access. That doesn't help that doesn't help at all.
yeah, yeah. But that's kind of David's whole game, is that he like way overcommits to the lie. Like you are way past the point of pretending that you don't know the show at all. Now you should start pretending that you know the show more than you actually do.
And what's funny is Tyler and I think Cody were, or I think Enzo were joking about how that he's never going to admit to the fact that he took himself off with the power, that he's just going to pop out like randomly like a year from now and be like, hey, I used the power, by the way. It was me all along. And then they're going to be like, what? That was honestly hilarious.
Yeah. All right.
Goodness.
So after Christmas's conversation with David, Nicole asks Christmas, like, what were you guys talking about? What did he say he was going after? Christmas lies about the conversation. She hides it. And Nicole's like, I'm just worried. Like, he didn't say anything about me, did he? Like, I just don't want. He's not gonna out me. She's super worried about being exposed.
Oh, yeah. And I think I really, really feel like what Davon said to her about, my community, all of that stuff, I think that really hit home with her because as we know, Nicole worries about how she appears on the feeds because, they probably got in there and they told her, hey, the stuff with Ian's not looking great for you. So please, whatever about her sponsors or can't confirm or deny, but it's probably really weighing on her heavy because she thinks that it's not a good look for her, what she did, even though it's to her and, to Danny, it's a really good game move. And she keeps trying to justify it with that. She's just paranoid, particularly today, beyond paranoid.
Yeah. Like the thing about Nicole over the last like couple of weeks now, she has been like getting more and more like depressed and anxious because she knows what's happening. Like she can see, like, obviously the alliance that she's in is dominating. She's in a position where she's like she's lying to people who are probably fan favorites. She's betrayed Ian. She's now in this situation with Davon, and she's just like, this is the opposite of what my mom told me to do. Like,
You're right.
this is not even like worth it, but like it's like she's on autopilot. Like she can't stop because this is the car that she got in, you know what I mean? Like she feels like what I want to stop, but I can't just get out of this moving car. I will be annihilated. And she is, again, such like an anxious person that like she always goes with the easiest route possible. And she's now stuck between two extremely difficult routes. But one is still easier than the other. Continuing to lie and continuing to ride in this car is easier than jumping out on her own volition. So she's just like, what have I done? I guess I'm just gonna be here until the finals and whatever. But oh god.
Right. And it's just kind of like an overwhelming fear also of being the last, well, there was only two, but the last winner standing. So she also feels like that target is just massive on her back, in addition to all of the stuff that we just mentioned, in addition to the people on the outside world who are probably viewing her in a way that she doesn't like. And let's be honest, Taryn, she didn't enter the house thinking she was a fan favorite. So she's probably thinking, did I make it worse for myself?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if I can answer that question for her, but judging from, Twitter, it's not looking great.
Yeah. So Kevin is going to talk with Day again about this time he's talking about like, okay, if I win HOH, I'm thinking I would go after like Cody and Memphis, put Cody and Memphis on the block. And Davon's like, but then if one comes down, Tyler goes up, right? He's like, yeah, I guess so. And she's like, no. It's got to be Cody and Tyler because Tyler will win the veto and take Cody down. He's like, okay, but then, Memphis, but okay, maybe Cody and Tyler. What about like Cody and Enzo? And she's like, and then Tyler goes up? It's like, I guess. She said, no, Cody and Tyler, and then you put up Enzo. And he's like, oh, okay. There's been a side plot between Kevin and Davon over the last like probably month where like Kevin likes Tyler. He likes Tyler, and Davon really doesn't like that Kevin likes Tyler. And so Davon likes to make fun of Kevin for she calls him a stan, she calls him like, he's like, oh, your boy, you're gonna have to put your boy up, Kevin. It's gotta happen.
Right.
And it's a very it's a very silly sort of storyline.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I love watching these two talk, honestly. Even if the strategy talk isn't like top tier, they're still very comic relief.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know if Kevin actually would put up Tyler, but Davon really wants him to.
Right.
So then they start a fire. Yeah. I believe it was I was reading it was David, but I didn't go back. I didn't see that it was David, but I think it might have been David according to people. And the water was like boiling over the pan, and like I don't know. I didn't investigate this fire, but
Neither did I.
it got on the burner and the flames went up, and the feeds went out. Apparently, Cody was trying to get the whatever it is called, fire extinguisher.
Fire extinguisher.
He was like trying to like read the directions for it, and Memphis just like ripped it out of his hands and used it.
Oh my goodness. I can't.
Yeah. Just a, silly little hijinks
Good
situation.
comic relief.
Yeah.
Like I said.
Tyler, Cody, and Enzo talk a bit about Cody wants to reel in David. We know this. And so Cody is trying to push that Kevin should go next week. Enzo's not really having it too much, though. Enzo's like, nah, yo, I'm shaking this house up, yo. That's it.
It's so amazing, by the way. Can I just say, it's incredible how much this man says yo every few words. It's remarkable. At first, I was like, you know what? Like, people are just, it's a bit, whatever. Because I didn't watch the feeds for his first season because I didn't watch it live. But now I watch it on the feeds and I'm like, oh my God, every 5 words, every 5 breaths. Brilliant.
Yeah. It is not exaggeration on my part. In fact, I probably don't say yo enough in my impersonation of Enzo, because it's difficult to adapt my speech patterns that dramatically.
Right.
So Cody says, look, I have no problem going after Danny if that's what needs to be done. And Enzo's like, hey, I like her, yo. She makes me laugh, yo. That's it. But she's messy, yo. That's it, yo. That she's messy. And Tyler's like, she's the gardener. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying, yo. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, goodness. It's remarkable watching Enzo because I feel like he's just in such a good position that he can say anything he wants about anybody, well, except his boys, but they'll just go along with it and they'll be like, yeah, Enzo will agree to any, because he's a very, another thing about Enzo is that when people talk to him, he will agree to everything that you're saying. And he makes you feel comfortable and makes you feel like this guy's with me. I can trust this guy. And on top of that, the social aspect of it, we've talked this to death about Enzo, is that he can just be your friend. And I think that he's just, I love watching him on the feeds. I love watching him do strategy talk plus just being himself.
Yeah. So Enzo also afterwards is going to so Tyler had told Cody something along the lines of like that Danny had said to him that Cody might want to keep or might want to get rid of Kevin. And Tyler's like, or Cody was like, is that true? Like, that's so weird of Danny. And Enzo's like, oh, Tyler wouldn't lie about that, yo. No way. Tyler's with us, yo. He's our boy. Like he's like fully, because again, last week it was weird with Enzo and Tyler, where Enzo kept being like, we could send Tyler out, yo. But now he's like, I think fully back on board, trying to vouch for Tyler, even when Tyler's not there. So we'll see that. I think again it's because he's like Enzo. I think really a lot of people are saying like Enzo's all talk. He's not actually going to go after Danny. I really I think Enzo has been talking about going after Danny for like since his HOH reign, and I think that he thought it was going to happen soon after his HOH reign, and it still hasn't happened. And I think he's starting to get to the point where he's like, this has got to happen like soon, and he's really hoping that Tyler will do it if he can't do it himself. But I think he wants this to happen soon, especially as they find out that Christmas is on board, that Memphis is going to be on board. Like I think something is going to happen soon.
Oh yeah, that's for sure the green light. As soon as they find that out, gun for HOH, he'll do it. And the thing with Enzo is that he's non-apologetic. Like he's going to do it. I firmly believe that.
Mm-hmm. So Cody talks to Christmas late into the night in the have not room, also about Danny, and that Christmas is talking about how dangerous Danny is and how she's messy and she's running around and why isn't she a better player, and that they should be thinking about going after Danny soon.
Christmas, I feel like one of these days it's just gonna get right back to Danny and it's gonna start like insane drama, because I think that Danny felt like she was in a position last week where, oh my God, I'm the one who's breaking up my alliance. I put up Tyler. I'm breaking up the committee. It's me. I'm like the scapegoat kind of situation. So I feel like if she hears even one glimmer of her Christmas targeting Danny so hard, she's gonna be like, no, it's her, she's the scapegoat, let's get her kind of situation. She would just be so willing to put that label, I guess you could say, onto somebody else. Like, she's the one who's breaking up the committee, it's not me.
Yes. So that's mostly the day here. I anything else you wanted to bring up, Lavina?
I'm looking at my notes and I take very extensive little tiny notes where I just hear little things that make me laugh. Like Davon kept calling Christmas old girl, and I wrote old girl equals Christmas, and made me laugh so hard. And then when another thing that happened too was when going back to the whole Nicole Davon dynamic of Nicole feeling guilty and stuff. She actually, during that conversation, I wish I brought this up when we were talking about it, but during that conversation, Davon was talking about Ian, and she was saying, he was upset, whatever. And then Nicole paused because where her brain's going. And she said, oh, right. You're talking about the campaigning stuff. Because in Nicole's head, she was thinking, oh my God, was he upset about were they talking about the, making fun of him situation? But it wasn't. She wasn't even lit that. Like, I just thought that was interesting. And that's how it's so easy to read where Nicole's head is at. And that's how I know that she's just thinking about the perspective of the outside world.
Davon did, so the reasoning that Davon has for not campaigning to Cody, Tyler, or Enzo is that she feels like she saw that they've made fun of every single person who has campaigned to them. And like, I don't know where she got this idea.
Right. I was confused about that too, but I just kind of went with it.
Yeah, like it's definitely not true as far as I am concerned, in terms of like thinking about like people have made fun of campaigns. Like certainly Memphis has, certainly Danny has, certainly Nicole has.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
she named like three of the people who I feel like have, maybe Enzo a bit. Maybe it comes from Enzo because Enzo tends to like complain about people. So maybe she feels like because Enzo is doing it, then Tyler and Cody must also be doing it. But yeah, I'm not sure where this comes from and why she feels like because of it, like that's reason for her not to campaign. Which just like, man,
Right. And
campaign.
I know. And I feel like a lot of people in the house are just going to say, like said, we talked about earlier, how the guys were saying, play the game, man. Like, you need a campaign. Why are you here? Type of situation. They're more inclined to vote her out, especially so first off, because of that. And second of all, because of her veto speech. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what exactly she said and how she said it and how it's edited. So that's something to look forward to for sure in the episode.
Yeah. Well, heading into next week, I think we are looking at a situation where a lot of like there's definitely Kevin and David are definitely still in danger, but it's really starting to look like Christmas versus Danny. That Christmas has kind of taken up Tyler's mantle as the anti-Danny figurehead, and I think if Christmas wins, she's probably going to want to take a shot at Danny. If Danny wins, they might try and get Danny to take a shot at Christmas, and that's looking like the big upcoming war here. With of course, just the possibility still remains that either David or Kevin will leave as a backup if, like, say Cody wins or something like that. But the big crack in the committee right now is definitely Christmas versus Danny, and there's a lot of ammunition out there on the field, just ready to start blowing up.
Right. And see, this is the week that people have been waiting for, I guess. Like, the big alliance is finally cracking. We've been getting this in the past couple of seasons, but you know what? It's good. It's really entertaining gameplay, and there's sure to be drama involved, especially because Christmas is involved. I think because Danny's involved, and I think that it's good TV, man.
There it is. All right. Well, that's what we have for you from yesterday. I will be back tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern for the Stock Watch Roundtable. If you're interested in contributing and rating the players, then the survey will be out as after this podcast ends on my Twitter at Armstrong Terran. You can rate the players, their gameplay this week, along with some other interesting bonus questions if you so desire. So make sure you check it out tonight. I'll of course be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 22 live feeds. And tomorrow night we will have the veto episode of Big Brother 22, and we'll recap that after the fact. So check it all out. Lavina, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at lpavs with two S's. That's LPAVSS. And yeah.
There it is. All right. You can, of course, also find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Terran Armstrong. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you next time.
Bye.